struggled in her playoff debut. She shot .417 from the field, Dre, as the Fever dropped Game 1 to the Sun, 93-69. Do you think Caitlin and the Fever can turn it around in Game 2?
Well, I do think Caitlin and the Fever will turn it around, meaning I think Caitlin will have a much more efficient day, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough to get away.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard. Y'all never talked about the old guard like this. Nah, I ain't gonna let it slide. Caitlin Clark, unanimous Rookie of the Year. But what's even more impressive, she's first team WNBA. First.
However, the media is not reporting that Clark was purposefully jabbed in the eye early in the game on Sunday by Suns star DiJonai Carrington, who was hunting for the steal. This is one of the countless attempts by WNBA players to bring Clark down. Will they ever punish such behavior?
With no whistle. Now there's nothing Indiana.
Clark instantly slumped to the ground, looking to have lost her vision, yet she was able to continue playing. While this one appeared to be unintentional at first glance, Clark has been the target of some questionable at best behavior from some of her WNBA peers this season, constantly taking hard fouls, eye pokes, and other forms of physical play that her Fever teammates have strangely allowed to go at various points. What makes matters worse is that DiJonai Carrington had previously targeted Caitlin Clark. This is in addition to the dizzying amount of criticism Clark has received from both current and former basketball legends, including Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, and most notably, Cheryl Swoops, who has gone so far as to undermine her own career accomplishments in an attempt to diminish Clark's obvious impact on the sport. But what DiJonai did in the game was just inappropriate. The worst part is that she's definitely doing it on purpose, and this isn't the first time. Carrington is one of several women in and around the WNBA who have made headlines for resenting Clark's celebrity. Several videos have emerged in which Carrington appears to purposely shove her nail into Clark's eye, a dangerous and prohibited action on the basketball court. The jealousy and hatred that many women in the league have for Clark is real. Those females have often used their disdain for Clark to make reckless movements on the court. The league can put an end to this by holding the females accountable, and it should. The WNBA should ban DiJonai Carrington. However, this will not occur. The WNBA would never punish a vengeful black woman for hitting a white woman who is, through no fault of her own, embroiled in the most prominent racial issue in sports today. In fact, the league is actively working to downplay the Clark phenomenon, such as deleting her from advertising materials in order to separate itself from the tale of a white Iowan outperforming a largely black league and reaching national prominence. Clark will most likely continue to be targeted on the court. Why shouldn't it? Clark's cheap shots are hardly regarded fouls at this point. ESPN and Twitter will thank you for it. In the end, Caitlin Clark is the best thing that's happened to the WNBA. The league has never been more popular. This obviously comes with a lot of pressure, so Clark was asked about the incident before the second game even began. Thus, Caitlin Clark addressed the issue surrounding an eye poke she received during Game 1 of the WNBA playoffs against the Connecticut Sun on Sunday. The incident occurred early in the game when Sun guard DiJonai Carrington, attempting to make a play on the ball, struck Clark in the eye. Clark quickly fell to the ground and looked to lose her eyesight, but she remained in the game. When asked about the play on Tuesday and the possibility that Carrington's actions were purposeful, Clark dismissed any malicious intent. "Obviously got me pretty good in the eye," Clark stated. "I don't think it affected me honestly. I felt like I got good shots. They just didn't go down. I got some really good looks. Took care of the ball better than I usually do. We were right there. I felt like we just played a crappy game. The flow of the game was really bad. The clock getting messed up. It was one thing after the next." "It wasn't intentional by any means," Clark added. "You just watched the play. It wasn't intentional." Carrington also commented on the event, questioning why anybody would believe she intended to injure Clark. "I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. It doesn't even make sense to me," Carrington said. "I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and hit her. It's obviously never intentional. That's not even the type of player that I am." The controversy surrounding the play compounds a season in which Clark has repeatedly been the subject of rough, violent play. Clark has faced a slew of harsh fouls and tough defensive techniques from her opponents throughout her debut season. Despite her aggressiveness, Clark has established herself as one of the league's greatest players, even in her first season. Clark, who spearheaded the Fever's turnaround this season, is regarded as one of the finest rookies in WNBA history, having been selected the Associated Press's WNBA Rookie of the Year. Carrington, meantime, made an impression in the Suns' 93-69 victory over the Fever, with 14 points, 5 rebounds, and a highlight reel block on Clark's teammate Temi Fagbenle. Game 2 of the series is slated for tonight, with the Fever hoping to escape elimination in Connecticut. What are your thoughts on it all? Has the WNBA allowed it to evolve too far? Should they penalize DiJonai Carrington? Despite the controversy, Clark has established herself as not just the WNBA's Rookie of the Year, but also a potential MVP contender, thanks to a rare combination of three-point shooting, playmaking skills, and agility that has taken the league by storm. Clark may have been on fire during the regular season, but she has yet to prove it in the playoffs. On Sunday afternoon at Mohegan Sun Arena, the Indiana Fever suffered a 93-69 loss to the Connecticut Sun in Game 1. The Fever's head coach, Christy Sides, received her second technical foul of the season just 7 minutes into the game. Caitlin Clark's apparent annoyance appeared 3 minutes into the second half. Clark missed her 6th consecutive three-pointer of the day, giving the Sun transition points. Sides called a timeout, and when Clark approached the bench, she lifted her shooting arm to attack the seats. Clark scored 8 rapid points after letting out her wrath. Clark's 2 triples during that outburst were her only ones of the day, as she finished 2 for 13. "My shot felt right there," Clark later stated. "That's why it's so frustrating, when it feels so good." Clark finished 4 for 17 overall, with 11 points and 8 assists. It was definitely not her best. Some believe it was due to Carrington's foul. Shots do not always go in. All of the Fever's starters had their first postseason action. The second difficulty was that, just as Clark was getting going in the third quarter, the Suns' Marina Mabrey hit back-to-back three-pointers and never looked back. Mabrey missed the bulk of Connecticut's shots in the second quarter, helping the Fever stay in the game. The Suns' trade acquisition from July played 32 minutes in lieu of Ty Harris, who was injured. She led all scorers with 27 points. This is the most for any bench player in WNBA postseason history. Unlucky with the Fever. Playoff basketball began shortly after tip-off. Baskets were thrown, players frequently begged officials for missed calls, and the Suns' league-best defensive rating made it difficult for Clark on the perimeter. Connecticut's guards and forwards agreed on when to blitz Clark and when to turtle to prevent dribble drives. The methodical strategy was effective. "We didn't play to the level that we're capable of playing," Clark told ESPN. Yes, the Sun authorized Fever forward Aaliyah Boston to take post jumpers, and the majority of them went in. However, Connecticut's three-headed front court outperformed Boston and Damiris Dantas, the Fever's de facto starting forward. The goal was to inhibit Clark, Mitchell, and Lexi Hull's three-point shooting ability. Clark added that she and the team received pleasant looks. Sometimes they did. However, the majority of shots were either contested or rushed. Connecticut deserves attention. Even if the Fever shot 50% beyond the arc, the fictional score would be tied at 93, and 50% is generous. It all boils down to the reality that when Clark, Mitchell, Boston, and Hull are on the field, they form one of the league's most dynamic, thrilling offenses to watch. When they are off, three-point misses add up quickly. Dantas shot 2 for 3 from outside the arc and played around 24 minutes off the bench, while starting forward, Nalisa Smith played only 10. Dantas stretches the floor with her shot-making and has the same height as the Sun. Sunday's outcome raises numerous questions for the Fever's progress in Result 2. "We've got to improve defensively," Sides said. Will they be able to get back at the Sun tonight? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section below.